welcome to another episode of the Philosophy of Chillin. My name is the Connect. I'm tired, y'all. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about a very loaded topic. I'm really going to try my best to be conscious of the time I spend talking about this because I know I can talk for quite a minute on this actually. So I'm going to try to keep it short, or at least in a reasonable amount of time. So with that being said, today we're going to talk about the philosophy of chilling through support. I'm trying to think of the question that we're going to focus on, because there's going to be multiple points brought up throughout this entire episode. But essentially, the overarching question that I'm trying to answer is, how does one apply the philosophy of chilling to handle the different styles / versions of support one can experience? Now, this is, I'm gonna really try not to go on any tangent because this can be a really heavy topic. So I'm gonna repeat the question one more time before I try to get into my first point. How does one apply the philosophy of chilling to handle the different styles / versions of support one can experience? So essentially what that means to me is we're trying to answer how you handle the support that you may get from a friend, get from a coworker, or get from like a loved one, whether they're doing it in a way that you can positively receive it, or if it's not in the way that you can readily receive it. So with that being said, I guess another question I can try to pose to help answer or address this topic is, what are the different types of support one can experience? And I think that can help us unpack the overarching, would it be like a motif of this episode? Because we first have to address, like, what is it that we're responding to, or what is that experience built around? So with that being said, like, it's kind of hard to label the names of the types of support that someone can experience. There are definitely like courses and research that can associate these two words with precise definitions, but I'm more so trying to address the actual not necessarily euphoria, but it is a euphoria experience in the heat of receiving support, whether it's in the way that you deem it or if it's not in the way that you can receive it. So with that being said, like what are those types of support? Well, honestly, it really just comes down to those two categories. The types of support that you can receive and the types of support you can't. Like, there's always gonna be those two realms in classifying if something is working or not. So in a sense of support, it's like, okay, let's say you're someone that's close to me, and when I'm upset, my view of support is you just standing there in the silence with me and helping me breathe through it, you know? And especially after you take the step of trying to communicate that, well, I think that's where the root of the application of the philosophy of chilling lies in. The mental process and the actions of trying to either prepare oneself to or receive the effects of communicating what we actually need or intend to receive from somebody else. So with that being said, you got two categories. You got the things that I'm able to receive, and you have the things that I am not able to readily receive. And within these two categories, there is the middle aspect of trying to get someone to understand what you need in order to receive the support that you would like to experience. And in the process of trying to figure out not necessarily just what you need, but also how to communicate what you need, there's going to be the ups and downs. And I'm trying to basically highlight those ups and downs and address just ways in which we can try to get to a point where if you're able to receive what I'm communicating to you, okay. If you are able to act through it and communicate back to me how you were trying to work through your process of trying to meet me in the middle, okay. But if you're not, then I respectfully have to walk away. Regardless of who the relationship is with, professional, personal, so have you, it's really just about being able to identify what you're experiencing from that other person and understand how long you would like for that to remain present within your life. I hope this makes sense. Okay. So what are the different types of support that one can experience? You can experience support that you can readily receive, or you can experience support that you cannot readily receive. And in trying to understand what you need as a person, it's going to take some active listening on both spectrums. And I think active listening is the biggest key that we'll talk about. Not the only key, but one of the biggest keys, because in order for you to understand what you need as a person, because you can't expect somebody else to embody this perfect figure of support that you need right off the bat. Like, it's, if you had an expectation for it, you might want to let it go, because it's not gonna flow that smoothly, because you are surrounded by people that have to fail to learn. So it's not going to go right the first time exactly every single time. It may go naturally, but even in the natural flow of things, there are challenges, hiccups, and what one may perceive as setbacks. But regardless, you have to start with understanding yourself first. And if you don't understand yourself first, you can't expect somebody else to understand you. With that being said, you have to have active listening with yourself first. You have to be willing to say, I put my instinctual voice on rest. Not necessarily quiet, because you can't shut it up, but just on rest, to where it's like, even if you say what you say, I should do this, I should do that, at least give me some time to check that. You get what I'm saying? Evaluate it. Is this really something that I need and must do? Or that I want for me to be the healthiest version of the self I'm trying to be. And when you're listening to yourself, it's no different from venting to a friend when you're being honest and transparent. And once you actually sit down and just listen to the thoughts that are coming to your head, evaluating, where is that concern coming from? Is this a fear? Are these nerves? How do I want to keep feeling this? Is this good for me? Is this putting me in a space that fulfills the drive and motivation that I have to keep going throughout my day? And once you start asking those questions back to those immediate concerns and thoughts, it allows for you to sit back and evaluate, okay, so really it wasn't the fact that so-and-so did or said this. It's the fact that I felt like this before I even walked in the door. And then when they encountered me, normally I would have responded like this, but because I was still focused on something else, it triggered me and I just didn't respond in the ways that I normally would. But now I'm upset and I'm going to make sure I advocate for myself and what I feel in the most appropriate way that I can. And if I lose myself, then, I need to assess and address that as well. It leaves space and room for that. So now when you come back and you get into a similar situation, you have the clarity and awareness to mentally address the fact that, hey, look, whoa, we've been here before. We felt this trigger before. Now, wait, hold on. I know you're hearing me, but how do you want to respond? Do you want to respond in the same way that you did before? Or do you really, 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 really want to walk this out in the better way? Do you really? And in the heat of it, I want to do exactly how I feel right now. But I do want to reach my highest self more than anything else. So, okay, last time they said they didn't respond well to me because of this. They told me based on the last conversation that they would have, that it helps when I respond like this instead. Let me do what I can now to diffuse and separate myself so that I can try to get as close to that response that they stated before in this moment right now. They may not understand if I have to walk away, but if I have to, recoup, come back, and let's try it again. I will. But I can only have that conversation with myself once I've already taken the effort it needs for me to be able to actively listen when my body is responding to different scenarios and situations. Then you have the other spectrum. Okay. Now you talk to yourself individually, you know exactly what you need for support and what your body registers as okay and not okay. Great. Now you have the spectrum of receiving somebody else's support in the ways that they readily know how in that moment. They show up as they are. And that's one piece that's very crucial when being in any situation and you're not necessarily, well, even if you are expecting somebody to support you, you have to let go of the expectation, because it's important that when somebody shows up as they are, you also recognize that they are human. So because that they are human, you have this expectation. However, they also have their own life and own struggles and own things that they are going through. So when they show up for you, they can only show up for in the personification of where they are within that moment. I hope that makes sense. So they're doing the best that they can with where they are in life at that moment, basically. So now you're like, okay, I'm expecting this support, this is how it should be, this is what I can receive. Now let's say that this person did not live up to those expectations. Well, I mean, if you're actively listening, one, you'll already be able to address the fact that this is really what I need from you. So I understand this needs to be a conversation and a way for us to have communication regarding what I need from you, what you are able to do, and then we work together to walk through what it looks like to meet in the middle and achieve an action from both parties that can be received. So in the end, that conversation, you have to be listening to what that person is truly saying, not necessarily listening to just allow them to talk and you have your own response in your head, but more so erasing your own predicament of what will happen and actively listening in that moment of, okay, you want to show up and be here. Let's get that first, established. That's always the first goal. What is your actual intention? Do you really want to be here or not? And even if somebody says, oh, yes, I really want to be here, have you also dissected what their actions are saying as well? Have you looked at that? Because, at least for me, actions speak louder than words. Somebody is always going to be inclined to forget because we're juggling so many different things at once. I can't hold that to you. I do it too. I take responsibility for it. But at the same time, are you still actively trying to be a positive addition to my life each and every time you're encountering it? You get what I'm saying? Like, even if you're in my personal space, are your intentions still to just be genuinely supportive of where you are now? And if it is, we can always work it out. So yeah, what are your intentions? Then, after you understand those intentions, and let's say, yeah, they're committed to still growing and being better so that they can be received in a more welcoming way by you through what you need. And this person, now you all are entering into this conversation where it's like, look, thank you for communicating the fact that you're still trying, but I still cannot receive this. So now that we're in this situation again, what can you take away from what you need to do? Or what is another way that we can change our actions or dynamics to help fit it better to what you're comfortable with? And that can also lead to the questions of what are you looking for in regards to support? Like, why are you doing it? And when you ask those types of questions, it kind of brings out, okay, so you do want to be here to support me, you know, whether you are showing up physically or just emotionally or have you, this is where you can show up now. This is also what I am able to receive and what I'm not able to receive. Now, okay, we have all these three questions answered. Now, when you do aim to support me, what are you looking for? Like, what is it that you actually are able to show up for in the ways that I can receive it? Okay, let's say you're showing up for my events physically, but you're not able to show up for presentations that I may have or things of that sort because it's not in alignment with your schedule. Okay, so if it's that specific event that does work, I can make sure that I know for me, when you're not able to show up for other things, it's not because you don't necessarily want to be there. It's just because it wasn't aligned with what you had going on. So it's still all love. You just weren't able to be there, and that's okay. Now, did you communicate? You could have improved on that, whether you did or did not. But at the end of the day, you know where that intention lies, so it helps you walk away knowing that it's not personal. It's just where they are right now. And that's the key of how one can apply the philosophy of Chillin to handle the different styles/versions of support one can experience. That right there. Because once you're able to actually address, you know, the fact that, okay, look, these specific requests or things that I'm doing or a passion project, what have you, it can be anything, literally. Even just the way that someone is able to create a personalized gift for you, right? Some people have love languages of acts of support, so they have no problem doing, you know, things that make you feel like you are being included in a personalized way. So, with that being said, if you're able to address the fact that, hey, look, even if this person has love languages of what acts of support or physical touch or anything else, even if it's different from yours, you're able to say, okay, well, why is someone doing it? Well, it's not because they're not genuinely trying to be there. It's because, it's not because they're not genuinely trying to be there. It's because they are genuinely trying to be there. They are, but they're just going through this. Or we're just not on the same path right now, but it's still, every time I'm around them, all love. And having that knowledge helps you, again, step away from the things that are making you upset, like, oh, you didn't call and say, how was the event, or how was your day? Well, look, they can only show up where they are at. So because of that, even if you don't say it, it's okay. Until you do, or that day, I can walk away knowing, at least I can presume that your intention was still in that last reference of knowing that you care, that you're doing it because you may be genuinely consumed by what is ever going on in your life, or I was looking for you to show up at an event, but even though I was looking for it, I can also understand that whenever you do reach out, I can feel that you still have love and genuine care and support for the things that I am doing, even so. And that takes patience to be able to get to that point where it's like, look, this is tiring because I want this person to be here, or I want this support to show up in this way. And we're still in the middle of trying to communicate what it is that we can do to understand each other and meet in the middle to move forward. And it takes patience to be able to say, even if this person isn't at a point where I can readily receive the support that they are able to give me with where they are in life right now, it still takes that patience to be able to address that and say, okay. So when you are thinking of how to apply the philosophy of chilling to handle the different ways in which you might experience support, it's very important that you address to yourself and you actively listen on how you currently are able to communicate. Are there things that you need to improve on when it comes to expressing how you are feeling, thinking, and wanting to move in terms of your relationship with other people? Are you accomplishing a mutual understanding in the ways that you are striving for? And if you aren't, and even if you are you asking the right questions for that other individual? Are you pulling out the key and core values of what they actually are requesting from you so that you can grow or that you can improve upon yourself as you're trying to actively listen to yourself as well? Like, are you asking yourself the right questions? Like, are you really being transparent enough and sitting there and being like, okay, well, I experienced this when I was however years old, so this is pretty much the core reason of why I always revert back to X, Y, Z, A, B, C. Are you asking yourself the right questions? Are you asking the people around you the right questions within those relationships that you want to improve? Or are you just making it about you? Because at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about what you're supposed to do to be a positive presence, or at least have positive intentions while in the presence of others while you are there. Because who knows, you might be, trying to do all this communication and everything else, and it might not just work out in general. But the goal is not necessarily for it to always work out. The goal is for you to be able to recognize within yourself how you are reacting and be aware enough to adjust your movements even in those acts. The goal is to be able to communicate effectively how you actually feel without feeling as if you're losing yourself in the process. The goal is to be able to recognize and address the true intentions of the people around you, whether it is supposed to last past the season or not. The goal is to be able to receive where someone is able to show up within their current state of life and understand how, one, you respond to it, and two, how it affects you. 3, how you can continue to move forward knowing that you showed up in the best progressive version of yourself so that you could still learn from the situation and move forward. So, I hope all of that made sense. If not, we can get a little bit deeper. I feel as if I'm a person that I also have utilized conversations, or at least what I've experienced, conversations have been used to pull things out of me that I wouldn't have necessarily discussed by myself or thought to say by myself alone. So with that being said, I would love to open up this conversation to a panel or group or a different topic, but still have diverse ideologies and things of that sort. So, if anyone is interested in vocalizing their ideologies and perspectives on a particular topic, you're welcome to come. As long as the energy is smooth and the timing is right, we can make it happen. So who knows? There might be a part 2 to some of these topics that you've seen before, or to some topics that you will see later on, featuring some guests to discuss and showcase their ideologies as well. So with that being said, I'm done like the connect. I really do appreciate y'all for y'all's time, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.